Today, we're going inside the Apple Fortress. We're going to peel back the layers on the incredibly complex strategy Apple uses to keep all your personal information safe and sound. I mean, think about it. We use these things all day, every day. But what is actually going on under the hood? What's the real barrier standing between your photos, your messages, all your private stuff, and somebody who wants to get their hands on it? Well, the answer is a whole lot cooler than just a password. Apple's approach is basically a complete security architecture. And the best way to think about it is like a digital fortress with all these different layers of defense. It's got a deep foundation, towering walls, vigilant guards, and a lockdown vault right in the center. And we're going to explore every single one of those layers. But, before we start building this fortress, we've got to look at the architect's blueprint. We need to understand Apple's core philosophy when it comes to security. And the big idea here, the absolute fundamental principle, is integration. See, for Apple, security isn't just some app you install or a setting you toggle on. No, it's woven right into the very fabric of the device from the get-go. The hardware, the software, and all the services, they have to work together seamlessly to create a truly secure system. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is straight from their own security documents. They make it crystal clear that this is a deliberate choice. One layer just can't do the job alone. You need the hardware to enable special features in the software, which then hooks into secure services. It's this incredibly tight integration that forms the bedrock of the entire fortress. All right, so every fortress worth its salt starts with a rock-solid foundation. And for Apple, that foundation is literally silicon, the custom chips that power every single one of their devices. Now, what you're looking at here is super important because it shows that security isn't just code, it's a physical thing. Right there on the main system on a chip, or SoC, there are dedicated areas that are physically built just for security. It's kind of like building your guard towers directly into the bedrock of the castle itself. And the crown jewel of that silicon foundation is this thing right here, the Secure Enclave. The best way to picture it is as a separate, totally locked down vault that has its own security guard inside the main chip. It is completely isolated from everything else, which means that even if some nasty malware manages to infect the main processor, there is just no way for it to get into this vault. And this isn't just some abstract piece of tech. You actually use the Secure Enclave every single day. It's the magic that handles your biometric data for Face ID and Touch ID. It's what secures your credit card info for Apple Pay. Your fingerprint, your face data, all of it is processed and locked away right here, never even touching the main processor or the operating system. Pretty cool, right? The foundation also makes sure your device starts up securely every single time. It's called the secure boot process, and it creates what's known as a chain of trust. It all starts with a piece of unchangeable code that's literally burned into the chip. That's the hardware root of trust. That code then checks to make sure the next piece of software is authentic and signed by Apple. Then that software checks the next piece, and so on, creating this unbreakable chain that guarantees your device starts up exactly as intended with zero tampering. Okay, so our foundation is secure. Now it's time to build the fortress walls. And in our analogy, the walls are the operating system, iOS or macOS. So one of the key defenses for these walls is something called System Integrity Protection, or SIP. What this does is it essentially puts all the most critical system files on lockdown in a read-only state. So even if you have the highest level of admin access, or worse, malware gets that access, it's still blocked from messing with the core of the operating system. And this, to me, is just a perfect example of how seriously Apple takes this stuff. Sure, you can adjust some security settings, but if you want to make a really major change, one that could weaken security, you can't do it from a distance. Malware can't just trick you into clicking a button. Nope. You have to physically be at the machine, holding down the power button to get into recovery mode and make the change. It's proof that a real human is present and in control. Okay, so the foundation is solid, the walls are high. Now let's head inside the fortress to the most important part of all, the vault, where all of your personal data is kept. So how does Apple actually protect the stuff inside the vault? Well, they use two main encryption tools. On your iPhone and iPad, it's called data protection, and it encrypts every file individually. On a Mac, it's called File Vault, and that encrypts the entire hard drive. So the methods are a little different, but the goal is exactly the same. Make all your data completely unreadable to anyone without your passcode, if that device ever gets lost or stolen. And here is the absolute crucial point. This incredibly powerful protection is on by default. You don't have to be some security whiz to turn it on. The moment you set a passcode on your iPhone, bam, you've activated this super sophisticated hardware-backed encryption system. It's secure by design, not as some kind of optional extra. Right, but a fortress also needs to have strict control over what comes in and what goes out. That brings us to the gates of the fortress, Apple's app ecosystem security. For the iPhone and iPad, the App Store is the one and only main gate. Every single app and every single update to that app has to go through a strict review process. It's a mix of automated checks and actual human reviewers, all trying to keep malware, scams, and other nasty stuff out of the ecosystem before it can ever get close to your device.
Now, macOS is a little more open, so it has this really smart multi-layered defense. First, it tries to prevent malware from even launching in the first place, using tools like Gatekeeper. But if something malicious does get on your system, it has another layer to block it from running. And then finally, if a threat has already gotten through, it has a remediation tool called Xprotect to hunt it down and remove it. It's what you call defense in depth.
Okay, so we've looked at the foundation, the walls, the vault, and the gates. But there is one absolutely critical part of this entire fortress that we haven't talked about yet, and that's you. So let's just do a quick recap. Apple has built this incredible digital fortress, right? It starts with security that's physically baked into the silicon chip. It's then reinforced by a protected operating system. Inside, there's an encrypted vault for all your data, and it has guarded gates to manage everything that comes in. Apple provides the entire architecture, but at the end of the day, you're the one holding the keys. A strong, unique passcode is the literal key to your data vault. Being smart about phishing scams protects the gates. The strongest fortress in the entire world is only as secure as the person who holds the keys. So the real question is, what are you doing to protect yours?